Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel about Dungeons and Dragons where we try and take a darker tone with everything we do here. So if you like edgier kind of content, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And a big thank you to our good friends over at Critical Failures, where we're part of a live stream game. We're taking a little bit of a hiatus, but we will be back soon. Check us out Wednesday nights. With all that out of the way, we're talking about the 2024 Barbarian and the new changes. Alright, so the Barbarian, like everything else, has gone through some changes, and it's not really a huge amount of changes. It does, I think, help to make the Barbarian a little bit more interesting and unique. Again, it's a martial class, so there are some things involving weapon mastery that do come up. We'll cover that in another video. The important thing to note is that the Barbarian now is, in a lot of ways, I think, better than the Barbarian was before. So I'm really excited to get into that because the Barbarian usually wasn't one of my top picks. It wasn't my favorite classes, one of my favorite classes to play. I always felt like I had preferred the fighter better for a number of different reasons, but there were a couple of subclasses I thought was great. I do think this newer Barbarian still has the same feel and the thematic reasoning, and it maintained that really, really well as the original Barbarian. I do think a couple of things got just a little bit better, and we're going to go through that. So if you've played the new 2024 Barbarian or you're playing it currently, definitely let us know what it was like or your experiences, things you liked, things you didn't, because we definitely want to hear from you guys. At level 1 as a Barbarian, the first thing you're going to get is still Rage. Now, a lot of things have not changed about Rage, but some things did get a little better. You still can't use it wearing heavy armor, so it is medium or light armor, depending on what you do. Which is just, important to figure out what you're thinking about for your character. As a Barbarian, you do have light and medium armor for your armor training. So with 2 dex and some medium armor, you can go pretty far. So Rage itself stayed pretty much the same. You still have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Slashing damage still being the most popular damage type. So anything that's regularly going to attack you, you basically have resistance to it while you're raging. Very rare will you get hit by something that doesn't do bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, unless it's like an elemental or something like that. So still definitely makes your hit points go significantly further. That resistance is a very big deal. You do have an increase in rage damage for your attacks. There is a chart for it. It goes from 2 all the way up to 4, so it's not a huge change, but it is additionally added on, so it does add up over time. It feels pretty good. If you can sneak in a fighting style like dueling or something like that, that definitely could still help. Ultimately, though, that's just additional damage, but you do need to use a strength roll, whether it's an unarmed strike or a weapon, which you can use for any weapon except, I believe, for bows. I think that's still just dexterity. You still have advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws, which is not changed. You cannot concentrate on spells or cast spells, which is not changed, but the duration is unique. Now the rage lasts until the end of your next turn, and it ends early if you don heavy armor or have the incapacitated condition. If your rage is still active on your next turn, you can extend the rage for another turn by doing one of the following. Make an attack roll against an enemy, force an enemy to make a saving throw, take a bonus action to extend your range. Not being within range of an enemy, and I believe not dealing damage or taking damage was the way the rage worked before. I might be a little confused with that. I have not played a Barbarian in forever. But now, it doesn't matter if you hit or miss. What matters is that you make that attack roll. That can extend your range. Or, if you don't have a range attack and can't reach anyone, you can just use a bonus action to keep it going. The caveat here is you can extend it to a point where it maintains for 10 minutes. Which is pretty great, because if you're in a sequence where you're in like a dungeon or you're having multiple combats, you can push that 10 minutes pretty quickly if you run fast enough and make it last for a couple of combats, which is still pretty incredible. You still have your unarmored defense, so your dex and constitution modifiers definitely increase your AC. Depending on what you have for dex and con, really depict on whether or not you use this, or if you just pick up something like medium armor. It's tricky to say, but you want constitution, you want strength. Those are your major things as a barbarian, so they should be pretty high anyway. So if you have a mediocre dex, you should still be moving pretty good. At level 1, you get weapon masteries. Now, weapon masteries are really, really interesting because they change the way martials work in combat. You have things that push your opponent. You have things that cause them to have disadvantage when they attack you. You have things that can cleave, so you can do damage to enemies that are next to you. There's a whole bunch of different things depending on what weapon you choose. A bunch of weapons have different properties. There's only a handful of properties. We'll go over this soon. But this is crucial to who your barbarian is. These weapon masteries are awesome. It adds a certain level of tactics to the martials. You're not just running up and just punching and doing nothing, or swinging a sword and doing nothing else. Like, it gives you a tactical feature where you could do other things. It's very cool, and getting this is going to be something that really changes the way martials act in combat. It's going to give you tactical advantages. So the smarter tactician player will get the most out of weapon masteries. As a barbarian, you learn 2 weapon masteries of your choice. And whenever you finish a long rest, you can practice weapon drills to change one of those choices. So having a couple of different weapons definitely is in your advantage, because now you might say, oh, it might be better to use this here or use that then. And having that option and that variety of different abilities you can use on top of your attacks really helps your character be more interesting in combat. You still have danger sense, works the same way. Reckless attack works the same way, but you still need to use strength with your attack rolls. You do gain primal knowledge, which I think was Tasha's. So the way this works is you gain proficiency in another skill of your choice from the skill list available to the barbarian at level 1. In addition, while your rage is active, you can channel primal power when you attempt certain tasks. Whenever you make an ability check using one of the following skills, you can make it as a strength check, even if it normally uses different ability: acrobatics, intimidation, perception, stealth, or survival. When you use this ability, your strength represents primal power coursing through you, owning your agility, bearing, and senses. It's a little weird to think of it just as like flexing so hard you can see better, but it is more so that concept of just like having hate focus you, kind of like very Sith like, where you can use that rage and it powers so many more things than just how hard you can hit something. And I think that's a better understanding for me personally of how primal knowledge really works. There's a bunch of different stuff coming up for the subclasses. The world tree is here, so is the wild heart. The wild heart, I think, is the replacement of the totem barbarian, but we'll go through those as well. We're going to do the class overview, and then we'll jump into the subclasses for what things have changed. At level 5, you get extra attack, fast movement. At level 7, you get feral instinct, so you now have advantage on initiative rolls, which is great. You also get instinctive pounce as part of the bonus action you take to enter your rage. You can move up to half your speed. That's great. I don't remember exactly where that was originally published, if it was an original thing or if it was added in Tasha's. But being a barbarian, not having a ranged weapon, and then raging and not being able to get to the enemy was a very big issue. This level 9 ability that you get is personally one of my favorite things about the new barbarians. Okay, it is Brutal Strike, and this has changed. If you choose Reckless Attack, you can forego any advantage on one strength-based attack roll of your choice on your turn. The chosen attack roll mustn't have disadvantage. If the chosen attack roll hits, the target takes an extra 1d10 damage of the same damage type dealt by the weapon or unarmed strike. And you can use one Brutal Strike effect of your choice. You have the following effect options: Forceful Blow. The target is pushed 15 feet straight away from you, and then you can move up to half your speed straight towards the target without provoking opportunity attacks. Or Hamstring Blow. The target's speed is reduced by 15 feet until the start of your next turn, and a target can only be affected by one hamstring blow at a time, the most recent one. So here's what's really, really great. This plays off of Great Weapon Master. Great Weapon Master has changed. Previously, it used to take a -5 for +10 damage. Now, when you hit a creature with a weapon attack that has the heavy property, as part of the attack action on your turn, you can cause the weapon to deal extra damage. That extra damage equals your proficiency bonus. And then the same thing with a critical hit, or if you reduce a creature to 0 hit points, you can make one more weapon attack with the same weapon as a bonus action. So that's big for obviously two-handed weapons and things like that, because it has to have the heavy property. Barbarians, previously, it was almost a guaranteed prerequisite you desperately needed great weapon mastery, or your barbarian was basically worthless. It was a pretty big mountain to overcome. If you were playing a barbarian and didn't take that feat, you would look like if you were doing something wrong or something weird, or it wasn't making sense. That is one of those things that you just need for a class to work effectively. And I hate things that you need for a class to work effectively. That bothers me so much. It makes me feel that like I'm so restricted that I have to be everyone else's barbarian. And D&D really isn't that game, because you could play it however you want. Ultimately, the way balancing works isn't based on how hard or how strong your character is, but how the DM wants to balance the game. So if you're all playing characters that are not super min-max, your DM does not need to have super intense, crazy monsters to fight you. There's plenty of challenging fights that you can have without going to that extreme. And that comes to your DM and your party being on the same page as far as difficulty rating and things like that. But that little bit of a tangent. But Brutal Strike, the way it worked previously was it just gave you an extra die you rolled when you crit. But the way Great Weapon Master and the Barbarian worked together was because of Reckless Attack. Now, on average, you would do +5 if you were trying to calculate advantage, and for Great Weapon Master to deal the extra 1d10 damage, you had to take that 5 away. So Barbarians would just get Great Weapon Master and recklessly attack all the time, because it's killing your enemies faster is way more beneficial. So what Brutal Strike did was it gave you that 1d10 damage as opposed to just a flat 10, which, you know, it goes all over the place. Understand, if you crit, that's like that's 2d10 plus whatever weapon damage you crit with, unless that rule has changed, but I haven't gotten there yet if it did. So you get that. You don't suffer the -5. You just make a straight attack roll. You will have to get hit with advantage if anybody tries to attack you afterwards, but that's part of taking reckless attack anyway. So you make, at level 9, you make one regular weapon attack, and then you can choose to use Brutal Strike. The ability to push someone 15 feet away is great. You don't have to use that portion that moves you up to half your speed straight towards the target without provoking opportunity attacks. Tactfully, if you're in a bad spot, maybe that's a really good option anyway. But you don't have to do that. You can just knock them away. Depending on where you're fighting and what kind of maps you're using, that could be better or worse for you. But I like this because it now adds that additional damage that everyone's looking for the Barbarian, and it doesn't require you to take a feat. And granted, 9 times out of 10, you are not going to get the same 10 damage. You'll probably get like a 7 or an 8 additional damage. But I think this is more fitting of an attack, and having a unique way to put yourself in a situation to use this works. Because thematically, you're going reckless and you're hitting brutally. Like, I can understand those things going hand in hand. I really like that. I really think it's cool. I think it gives you more opportunities to pick other feats and other things you might want. I do think it's a better change personally, as opposed to forcing you into wasting a level to get a feat that you absolutely need. Otherwise, your character is not anywhere near optimal. At 11, they gave you Relentless Rage, but they changed the way it works, which is pretty cool. Your rage can keep you fighting despite grievous wounds. If you drop to 0 hit points while your rage is active and don't die outright, you can make a DC 10 Constitution saving throw. If you succeed, your hit points instead change to a number equal to twice your Barbarian level. Each time you use this feature after the first, the DC increases by 5. When you finish a short or long rest, the DC resets to 10. First off, short or long rest. Someone in your group has catnap, you're doing this constantly. The thing that I like the most about this is previously you would take a failed death save. But this not only gets you to continue fighting, it gives you regular hit points to work with. So at level 11, you're getting back 22 HP. Like, it's enough to most likely survive a round, especially if you're raging. The great aptitude here is it's a con saving throw, and you're a barbarian. This is your jam. Constitution is your thing. Your saving throws are strength and con. This is right up your alley, and a DC 10 should be incredibly easy for you to hit the first time. Going beyond that, 15 is a pretty high DC to make, but you're proficient with it, so you get that extra bonus, and it gets a little easier depending on how high you're investing into Constitution, which I think you would, because it's not only is a part of your unarmored defense, it's also part of your overall hit points, and you're a barbarian, you want that up as high as possible, because your survivability is based on padding that HP with resistance, as opposed to just having up higher AC. You know, that's kind of the way it works, because you're meant to get hit, you're not meant to not get hit. Like a fighter is meant to dodge, block, and parry. Like, that's kind of built into the way they work. Barbarians want to scream really loudly and swing. At 13th level, they improve Brutal Strike is what you get. And you've honed new ways to attack furiously. The following effects are now among your Brutal Strike options. Staggering Blow. The target has disadvantage on the next saving throw it makes, and it can't make opportunity attacks until the start of your next turn. And the next one is Sundering Blow. Before the start of your next turn, the next attack roll made by a creature against the target gains a +5 bonus to the attack roll. And an enemy can only have one Sundering Blows bonus on them at a time. So understand, Sundering Blow does not work for you. So if you hit something and you want to use Sundering Blow, it's going to be kind of an issue for you to take any real advantage of it. But anyone else that's been just rolling poorly is really going to appreciate that. Depending on your party, Staggering Blow is incredible. Disadvantage on the next saving throw it makes. It can be any saving throw. You get a Save or Suck spell. You get something that paralyzes them at 13th level. You have a bunch of those available to almost every class. And that gives you a way better opportunity to make those heavy hitting attacks because they now have disadvantage. You can keep putting this on. Again, this all works with Brutal Strike, so whenever you attack recklessly and you hit without using advantage, you can put one of these on. So you keep setting up those disadvantages. You'll burn through legendary resistance like it's no tomorrow and keep setting that disadvantage up, and you know what? It's just a straight roll. One of those is going to hit and it's going to be detrimental. It's a great way to counteract legendary resistance and just give your players, your fellow party members, an opportunity to hit the spells that are significantly harder for them to do so. At 15th level, you get Persistent Rage. This changed a little bit. When you roll Initiative, you regain all expended uses of Rage. After you gain uses of Rage in this way, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. In addition, your Rage is so fierce that it now lasts 10 minutes without you needing to do anything to extend it from round to round, and your range ends early if you are unconscious or have the incapacitated condition or don heavy armor. At 17th level, you get another improved Brutal Strike. The extra damage of your Brutal Strike increases to 2d10. In addition, you can use 2 different Brutal Strike effects whenever you use your Brutal Strike feature. So you can drop Sundering Blow and Staggering Blow. You can drop Hamstring and Forceful Blow. I'll be honest, Hamstring is probably the least one you're going to use, but still being able to knock 2 out of 4 is pretty great. And the increased damage die to 2d10. At 18th level, you have Indomitable Might. If your total strength check or strength saving throw is less than your strength score, you can use the score in place of that total. At 18th level, having 20 strength or higher is possible. So basically, you can't roll less than a 20 on a strength check or strength saving throw, which is pretty impressive. At level 19, you gain an Epic Boon. This is something that I have to go over as far as all the epic boons are concerned. This will probably be something else that I cover at a different time period. And then your level 20 ability is still Primal Champion. Your strength and constitution scores increase by 4 to a maximum of 25. If you make it to 20th level, pretty rare, though there are more and more campaigns coming out that do have 20th level level caps to them. So this is something you're seeing more and more of, and the more of that you see, you'll see more people running games that do run up to that point. So you might see it more often than not. So you really just need to get your strength up to a 21 or econ up to a 21 for before you hit primal champion to really hit that like maximum of 25. That is the core barbarian changes. We're going to cover the subclasses quickly. We're going to cover them basically on what has changed, and if there's anything new subclasses like the world tree, we'll cover that in its full effect. That being said, if you've made it this far, a big thank you. Definitely hit that like and subscribe. Thank you for supporting the channel. What you do is amazing. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters. You guys go above and beyond by helping to support the channel, and we really appreciate that. Big thank you to all our friends out there. We love to comment with you. We love to reply to your comments. We love to hear everything about you. If you play the barbarian, if you love the barbarian and you're looking forward to this, definitely tell us. We want to hear what you're thinking and really help to kind of cultivate what kind of an understanding of what things we might have missed or what things you were really, really looking forward to. With all that said and done, we're going to bring this video to a close. Thank you for giving a spooky kid a chance.